In a quiet, sandy valley, beyond the tall coral walls, a small octopus named Nori painted the floor of the sea. Nori crushed shells into soft dust and meticulously mixed them with algae and tiny stones. A touch of rich red came from a broken sponge, a breath of calming blue from a scrap of sea silk, a streak of bright yellow from sunflowers of coral. With 8 careful arms, Nori drew flowing waves and moons and the slow, majestic shape of whales. When the tide flowed gently, the paintings moved like living stories. Fish gathered in silent rows to watch. Crabs lined up like curious guards. Even shy seahorses leaned from their kelp windows to observe. Nori did not speak much, preferring to communicate through silent expression. Feelings moved across Nori's skin as distinct patterns of color. When truly happy, shimmering gold rings drifted along the mantle. When curious, small blue freckles appeared rapidly. When scared, the entire body turned the pale color of sand to hide. Nori loved color more than food and sleep combined. Color was breath. Color was song. One evening, a large, menacing shadow slid over the valley. The water cooled dramatically. A long eel named Night Coil drifted down the slope with the patience of deep night. Its eyes were small and unnervingly bright. It smelled distinctly of old metal and deep, forgotten caves. Night Coil watched the paintings without moving. Then it moved closer, slow and smooth, and touched the red dust with its tail. The red instantly faded into nothing. Nori froze. The blue thinned like smoke and went out completely. It swept its heavy body across the valley, and all the color pulled itself away from the sand and followed the eel like tiny sparks into the dark. By the time Night Coil left, the valley was barren. The floor looked like cold, empty glass. Nori's skin flickered in panic and then went completely blank. The next morning, the reef woke without color. Parrotfish looked dull gray. Fans of coral hung limp like paper. Small fish hid in shadows because everything felt utterly wrong. Nori sat at the edge of the valley and held a broken shell. No red dust rose from it, only grit. Night Coil had not only stolen the paint, it had stolen the source of all color, carrying away something deep and essential from the water. Nori pushed away the shell and stood up tall. A thin line of deep purple, the color of resolves, steadied along the back. The octopus left the safe valley and followed the faint trail of dull sparks that the eel had shed. They led to the mouth of a channel where the water was thick and moved slow. It was the black current. The current hummed in a low voice. It pulled, it pushed. It tried hard to hold Nori fast. Nori set 8 arms on the rock and moved with a heavy beat. The trail of sparks dropped toward a cave where the water felt warm and restless. The cave glowed intense red. Inside stood a field of red crystals. A bright red jewel hung above the floor. Nori reached for it and felt a rush of hot anger. The jewel tried to place its rage inside Nori. The octopus stopped, closed all arms, and breathed slow. Rings of calm purple spread outward. Anger slid past. Nori made a net of arms and gently held the jewel. The heat shook the body, but Nori stayed focused. The jewel dimmed into a warm ember. Red dust trickled softly. Nori tucked the ember into a kelp pouch and left. The trail of sparks ran deeper. Nori found a ledge opening into a green garden made of glass leaves. The images reflected were too bright and lovely. When Nori saw a reflection, envy prickled at the skin. Green waves pushed over the mantle. The leaves whispered, "Take this shape." Nori looked away, touched a plain gray stone, and placed it in the center. The envy slowed. Nori climbed the leaves. At the top hung a green heart. Nori wrapped it with sea silk. The beating slowed and grew kind. True green flowed into the current. Nori placed the green heart beside the red ember. The sparks fell into a trench so blue it almost looked black. The water was very still. The trench carried fear. Cold touched the mantle. Nori wanted badly to back away. A blue crystal lay on the floor. It was fear itself. Nori stretched 3 arms and touched it anyway. Fear rushed violently through the body. Nori did not run. Nori sat beside the crystal like a friend. The octopus whispered tiny, steady, calm waves of color. After a long time, the crystal opened like an eye. A soft blue glow rose from it that cooled the mind and made room for clear thought. Nori lifted the blue gently into the kelp pouch. 3 colors now rested with Nori: red ember, green heart, blue calm. The trail of sparks turned upward into a hollow dome where night coil waited. Along the ceiling hung a ring of color seeds taken from the reef, trapped in a net of dark slime. Nori opened the kelp pouch, letting the 3 lights breathe. Red warmed the dome. Green softened the air. Blue cleared the echo. The coil flinched. Nori moved, climbing the ceiling. When Nori touched the net, it stuck like glue. The eel flashed forward to snap. Nori dodged and climbed again, painting the water with small lines of blue calm to slow the eel. Nori reached the ring and set the red ember against the net. Heat thinned the slime. Nori pressed the green heart. The net twitched. Nori laid the blue glow along the knot. The knot fell apart like sea foam. The ring of color seeds shook free. Night coil lunged. Nori released a clear ink cloud, a trick that made a mirror. Night coil struck the mirror and stunned itself for a breath. Nori pulled the ring down to the sand. The seeds slipped past the eel and sank in. The dome floor woke with color. Yellow, purple, orange, and pink rushed out in bright streams into the current. Night coil shook off the daze and flashed toward Nori. Nori spun and circled the eel in a loop of color. Red for courage, green for balance, blue for clear breath. The current now carried the reef's true tone, the song of the coral arch, the hello of whales. The eel tried to twist free, but the flow carried it backward. Nori only guided the loop. Night coil sank into a side vent and vanished into dark water. Nori checked the kelp pouch. The colors had melted into the water and into Nori's breath. The pouch held only kelp. That felt right. On the way home, the channel changed shape. Kelp lifted its hands in slow joy. Parrotfish put on their wild suits again. A cloud of chromis turned into a spark of emerald. Nori reached the sandy valley at sunset. The floor breathed. When Nori touched the sand, color bloomed at once. Nori laughed without sound. Color swirled and settled into shapes without fear. It was deeper and more alive, having remembered being lost. Friends returned. Seahorses swayed. Crabs tapped a beat. Elder turtles arrived. Nori moved through them like a quiet conductor. The skin showed gold rings that came and went like laughter. The water between them glowed a soft purple of shared calm. Later, Nori sat alone. The current carried distant voices. A small click came from far away, not angry, not sad. Nori sent one blue ripple in that direction, meaning peaceful water to you. Nori began a new painting at dawn. It followed the path of the day before. First, a warm, red curve of courage. Then, a gentle blue that leaned close to fear without letting it grow. Yellow steps and purple shadows kept the middle safe. Orange tied the shapes into a steady line toward the open sea. When the tide moved, the painting moved with it. The floor of the valley turned into a story you could swim through. The song of the coral arch reached the valley and matched the painting. Nori felt the match inside and answered with a calm flash. By evening, no one asked Nori what happened. They saw the reef glow again and felt the water balance. They knew enough. Nori rested at last. The day had returned what the night had taken. The colors had learned the way home. If you swim there on a clear day, you will see lines of paint that seem to move by themselves. You might also notice a faint, long shape far at the edge of the channel, learning the rhythm too. And you will understand without words that the reef is not only bright, it is brave. It keeps its colors by sharing them.